Have you ever felt too small, too unqualified, or too overwhelmed for what God is calling you to do? If so, Gideon's story is your story. It proves that God's strength shines brightest when our strength runs out. Gideon didn't start confident or courageous. He started off hiding, but God still called him a mighty warrior. Gideon lived in a time when Israel had turned away from God, and because of their disobedience, they were being terrorized by the Midianites. They destroyed crops, stole livestock, and left the Israelites in fear, hiding in caves and mountains. Gideon was no different. When God called him, he was threshing wheat in a winepress, hiding from the enemy. You can't thresh wheat in a winepress. It's too small, too dark, and too cramped. But fear will always push us into small places. And it's right there in that hidden, fearful place that the angel of the Lord appears and says something unbelievable. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Gideon looks around, unsure who God is talking to. He responds with frustration. If the Lord is with us, why are we suffering? Why are the Midianites destroying everything? Where are all the miracles our ancestors talked about? Gideon didn't feel mighty. He didn't feel chosen. He felt abandoned. But God wasn't mistaken. God saw something in Gideon that Gideon couldn't see yet. God tells him, "Go in the strength you have. I am sending you." Gideon immediately gives excuses. "My clan is the weakest. I am the least in my family." Gideon saw weakness. God saw potential. Gideon saw limitations. God saw destiny. And God answers him with the words we all need to hear. "I will be with you." Gideon needed proof, so he asked God for a sign. God patiently gave him one. Then Gideon asked for another sign, and another, testing the fleece dry one night, wet the next. But didn't reject him. God met him where he was. Because God isn't intimidated by our doubts, he works with us through them. Now comes the powerful part. Gideon gathers an army of 32,000 men to fight the Midianites. It sounds impressive until God says, "Gideon, that's too many. 2 men of Jerel is already outnumbered." But God isn't worried about numbers. He's concerned about where the glory will go. If Israel won with 32,000 men, they'd say they did it themselves. So God tells Gideon to send home anyone who is afraid. 22,000 men leave instantly. From 32,000 to 300, that's not just a reduction. It's impossible by human standards, and that's exactly the point. God specializes in impossible odds. He reduces our resources so that his strength becomes undeniable. Now Gideon faces an army described as thick as locusts, thousands of Midianites against 300 Israelites. But before the battle, God strengthens Gideon's heart. He allows Gideon to overhear a Midianite soldier sharing a dream that symbolizes Gideon's victory. Even the enemy knew God was about to move. Encouraged, Gideon divides his 300 men into 3 groups. No swords, no chariots, no real weapons. God gives Gideon a strange battle plan: torches inside clay jars and trumpets in their hands. In the middle of the night, Gideon's men surround the enemy camp. At Gideon's signal, they break the jars, lift the torches, blow the trumpets, and shout a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. The Midianites panic. Confusion fills the camp. They turn on each other with their own swords. God gives victory to a small, unqualified army led by a hesitant man who finally trusted God fully. The battle was never about military power. It was about surrender. It was about dependence. It was about God showing Israelanders that his strength is made perfect in weakness. Gideon started with fear. He started with questions. He started hiding in a winepress. But when he trusted God, God transformed his weakness into victory. And the same God is still doing that today. The lesson from Gideon's life is clear. God gets the glory when we depend fully on him. Not our numbers, not our skill, not our confidence. His strength, his plan, his victory. So let me ask you, what area of your life feels too small, too weak, or too overwhelming? What battle looks impossible with what you have? Remember, Gideon, God doesn't need many. He only needs your yes. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible stories and Spirit-led encouragement here on the Spirit-led path. And always remember, God can do more with your weakness than you could ever do with your strength.